What's up, YouTube? Good morning. I accidentally went live early on Live Me. I accidentally hit go live when I didn't mean to yet. So poor Live Me folks. Some of them had to stare at my blank wall for a little while. The people that logged in first, and then they had to bear with me while I got this stream ready. So without further ado, we're going to go straight into the theme song. Get your news on the ground. You want to know what's going on. We're getting our news on today. On the ground, we want to know what's going on. We're getting our news on today. You tweet me an article at Placone. We'll go through it together. We'll make it home. Get your news on the ground. We want to know what's going on. Getting our news on today. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. I am your host, Ron Placone. Good to see everybody. Good to see everybody. Let me go on to the Reddit here. For anyone, this is your first time, you are watching Get Your News On with Ron. This is the show where we literally get our news on together. What does that mean? That means you guys tweet me articles at Ron Placone, and that is how we build the show. That's how we build the show. You guys tweet me articles. We go through them. I have not seen any of these articles before. I'm learning all this for the first time. And to be honest, guys, I have not looked at the news at all today because I kind of just woke up. So I don't even know what the hell's going on. I'm counting on you guys to let me know what the hell's going on. Right? So that's how we do things here. Let's see. I know you guys have been sending stuff, so I want to make sure I start at the right place. And also, if you don't want to tweet me articles, which you can tweet me articles at Ron Placone, that's the best way and quickest way. You can also get me an article on our Reddit. We have a Reddit. It is reddit.com/r/getyournewsonwithron. Olivia, my Twitter account is at Ron Placone. Today was a big day for Elon Musk. That is true. Let's see here. All right. And I just lost my place. All right. All right, we're just going to have to start where we start because I totally lost my place. Let's see here. Here we go. I'm back. All right. This is from Jesse. Let me go ahead and give you a Get Your News On with Ron retweet. Helps me keep my place on this timeline. No, I don't want to let you know where I'm located, news website. My location is none of your freaking business. Am I right? All right. So the Illinois Republican Party is exploring all options to get rid of Nazi candidate. All right. Nazis have no place in our nation's democracy, and to that end, we will continue to vehemently oppose everything Mr. Jones stands for. How sad is it that that's his name, Mr. Jones? Now, I mean, not only is this guy a Nazi, which is terrible. He's a Nazi running for office, which is even more terrible. He's a Nazi running for office that has the same name as a really beautiful song by the Counting Crows that, by the way, not about a Nazi. Mr. Jones is a good guy in the song Mr. Jones. Not that this Mr. Jones, not okay, but song Mr. Jones, great dude. He likes it when they play flamenco guitars. He's a fan of that. He tells his buddy fairy tales, which I guess is Adam from the Counting Crows. That's the lead singer's name. Adam Duritz, right? Adam Duritz. By the way, I have a funny story about that dude. So, real quick, before we get into this, tragic that this guy has the same name as a beautiful Counting Crows song. But one time I was performing in one of my favorite towns, Madison, Wisconsin, at my favorite comedy club in the country, the Comedy Club on State. I'd love to go back there, by the way. If there's any Madison folks, I would love to go back to Madison. And I was performing at the club, And across the street from the club, there was a big theater, and it was run by the same production company. Now, who was playing that theater the same weekend I was playing at the small comedy club across the street? The Counting Crows. So they put us all up at the same hotel. So I was staying at the same hotel as the Counting Crows. It was just literally down the street from the venue because there's like a it's a small college town, Madison is. So you can just kind of walk to the venue. So I'm walking to the venue, and it's a Friday. We had a fun show on Thursday, and there's this guy walking down the street, and he points at me, right at me, and he's like, "Dude, you are awesome." And I'm thinking, hey, this guy must have seen the show last night and really enjoyed my set so much that he's coming back for a second night of Ron Placone comedy. How flattering. And I go, "Aw, dude, thanks so much." And as I say thank you, he walks right past me, and I turn around, and who was walking behind me at the same time? Adam from the Counting Crows. I had no idea he was right behind me the entire time, walking from his hotel room, which I'd imagine was a nicer hotel room than mine, but the same hotel nonetheless. And he was walking to the venue too. And that guy was talking to Adam, not me. He was not going to the comedy club that night. He was going to see the Counting Crows. And honestly, I was a little jealous. All right. But I like the Counting Crows. And yeah, this guy's terrible. This Art Jones guy. So Nazis have no place in our democracy. We will continue to vehemently oppose everything Mr. Jones stands for. The Illinois Republican Party is exploring all options in its effort to thwart Arthur Jones, an anti-Semitic, white supremacist, and Holocaust denier who is running unopposed in the Republican primary for a Chicago area congressional seat. Going forward, the Illinois Republican Party will explore all options to oppose his candidacy, whether that be supporting an independent after the primary, encouraging a write-in campaign, or potentially other options. Nazis have no place in our nation's democracy, and to that end, we will continue to vehemently oppose everything he stands for. Mr. Jones, let's just call him, he doesn't deserve that. Art Jones. Art Jones, horrible white supremacist. Art Jones, a 70-year-old retired insurance agent and perennial losing candidate, is a former leader of the American Nazi Party. His campaign website includes a section called Holocaust ? In which he calls the genocide of 6 million Jews the biggest, blackest lie in history. Jones tried running for the Republican nomination for the same district in 2016, but the Republican Party successfully challenged his petition signatures. This time, the party, as well as his two Democratic opponents, said that his signatures look genuine. Jones has no opponents in the primary to run as a Republican candidate in the heavily Democratic district. So obviously, hopefully this guy doesn't get in. I mean, that's saying the very least. Hopefully he doesn't get in. And Dem Socialist points out he's ignoring 11 million deaths, not just 6. How? I mean, how tone deaf do you have to be? I mean, it's got to be you're that driven by hate that you have just blinders on that you're not willing to take off because you're just so driven by hate. I mean, and if we wanted to make an episode about just white supremacy and the idea of it and how it happened, I mean, this stream would be 4.5 hours long because we could talk about this for a long time because it's such a weird phenomenon that is really the ugliest of our society. You know, I mean, these are groups of people that are defined and driven by hatred and hatred of people that are different than them for no reason, none. And they've gotten kind of a facelift as of recent, which is absolutely appalling and disgusting. And yeah, I mean, I guess this is just another symptom of our very broken system. You know, I mean, we do have a Nazi sympathizer in the White House. That's just factually true. We have a Nazi sympathizer in the White House. So what was going to stop an actual Nazi from thinking maybe I got a shot at something? That's what we've been reduced to. And yeah, hopefully this guy. I mean, it's nice that the Illinois Republican Party is at least, you know, speaking out about it. They're at least saying, "Hey, we're a pretty repulsive party, but even we have some standards." We get it. We're Republicans, but we draw the line somewhere. Jesse, thank you for sharing that. I guess we'll see what happens. Hopefully this guy doesn't get anywhere near office. Imagine how awkward those meetings would be. Like just like, yeah, and this guy's an actual Nazi. We know he doesn't even cover it up. But he got in, and yeah, we gotta. Somebody's gotta sit next to him. That would be at meetings. Someone would have to sit next to that guy, and just like, I don't know what you would do. I don't know how I would handle it. I mean, this guy's a Nazi, and you have to sit next to him and treat him like a colleague. I don't think I could. I think I'd be like, dude, this system is broken. We needed a revolution last week. There's a Nazi sitting next to me. Can we let's just start over again. Let's just start over again. We really shit the bed here. Thank you for sharing that, Jesse. Hi, crazy cat lady. Good to see you. We were just talking about cats. Unfortunately, Lucy is in the other room in protest. She doesn't want to be on mic today. Maureen sends this one. Let me get a Get Your News On with Ron retweet. And I think we got some stuff over at the Reddit. All right, this is slightly less horrible news. This is not bad news. This is actually a little bit of fun pop culture-y news. Tom Hanks is going to star as Mr. Rogers in You Are My Friend. And this is what the world needs, according to this USA Today article. Crazy cat lady, I'm doing good. How are you? Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers. It was meant to be. Hanks is attached to star as Fred Rogers from the pioneering children's television series Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood in the film You Are My Friend. Sony TriStar Pictures announced Monday, You Are My Friend, with its title taken from one of Rogers' signature songs, is inspired by a real-life friendship between Rogers and journalist Tom Junod. Junod is depicted as a cynical scribe who begrudgingly accepts an assignment to write a profile article on the iconic Mr. Rogers. He finds his life perspective transformed in the process. Cool. I'll totally go see this. I like Mr. Rogers. I do. I'm a huge Mr. Rogers fan. Fun fact, I went to high school next door to where Mr. Rogers was at least at one point filmed. I don't know if it was filmed there throughout the entire duration, but I went to high school right next to where Mr. Rogers was filmed. Yeah, because I grew up in Pittsburgh. And here's something interesting, too. This is something that they used to do in Pittsburgh back in the day when I was growing up. It used to be really fun, and it wasn't necessarily meant as an insult or a dig. It was kind of meant just to be satirical because everybody loved Mr. Rogers. Like, I've never met a person in Pittsburgh or elsewhere, but especially not in Pittsburgh because that was Mr. Rogers' home, where people were like, fuck that guy. Like, I've never encountered that. Because, like, why? Like, why would you... Mr. Rogers, this guy that just teaches kids and educates them and just, like, you know, like, why would you not like... So, anyway, you guys get the idea. But it was fun for punk rock flyers to have a cartoon Mr. Rogers on them. And then they'd have like a little like comic bubble, and Mr. Rogers would be saying the name of the bands and the date and the venue. That was like a popular thing to do when I was growing up. I'm pretty sure I played in at least one shitty garage band that had at least one goofy Mr. Rogers flyer. And this is back in the day. This was pre-Photoshop, dating myself a little bit. Of course, I've been 27 since the year 1933, so I've been around a while. But this was like pre-Photoshop. So it used to be when you would like cut the cut the letters out of magazines and paste them together and then make a copy of it. And that's how you made your flyers. I actually miss those days. Those flyers were cooler than what we have now. I don't care what anyone says. So yeah, Mr. Rogers parody flyers were quite popular. But it was out of love. Like, it was out of love and respect. It wasn't out of like, we're punk rock, Mr. Rogers. No, it was like, dude, we grew up with Mr. Rogers too, and we love him. And here's just a little bit of satire. And Mr. Rogers was a pretty cultured dude too. I mean, he had opinions. He was he had his thumb on the pulse. He knew what was up. But he knew what his role was. He wanted his role, and he made no qualms about it. You know, back in the day when we were a little bit like you know, when we were a little more conservative as a nation than we are now in regards to certain things, and homosexuality was a lot more taboo than it is now. We have evolved some on that. We still have a long way to go. I know that. We still have a long, long way to go. But, you know, we've made some progress. My reason for bringing this up is there was a point in time, I believe in the 80s, where they interrogated Mr. Rogers on the ambiguity of his sexuality. And I think this points to him kind of being ahead of his time in many ways. Instead of getting like, whoa, no, I like women, or I don't like, or whatever. He just said, how is this relevant? Why are you bringing this up? What does this have to do with anything? And it's like, well, some of the stuff you say, you know, it comes off as, and he's like, look, I'm here, you know, I'm here to teach the children and to educate them. And at times, and at difficult times, to comfort them. You know, when war was going on, Mr. Rogers was the person that would be like, hey, it's going to be okay. He was the person that was that, you know, public figure that spoke to the children. No one else does that. Politicians don't do that. Other personalities don't do that. But that's what Mr. Rogers would do. So he said, look, that's my job. That's what I do. And I don't care what anyone thinks about me. He pretty much said, I don't give a shit what you think about me. I don't care if you think I'm straight, gay. I do not care. I just care that I'm helping those children. And I'm helping my audience. Fred Rogers definitely comforted me during my parents' divorce. That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, he would do segments on stuff like divorce. He would do segments. Mr. Rogers taught me that, like, breastfeeding is a totally natural thing. You know what I mean? And he would package that for kids. He would he would do that. He would say, I mean, he was light years ahead of his time in many ways. And I'm not totally fluent in all of his work. But, you know, I grew up with it and I have some memories. So anyway, this movie seems like it'll definitely be interesting. I want to check it out. Thank you for sharing that, Maureen. I didn't know about that, but Tom Hanks is going to play Mr. Rogers in a movie, you guys. And we should all go see it and then talk about it. That'd be fun. We should all go do it. This is from Marcus. And after this article, we're going to go over to the Reddit. But let's do a couple super chats first. And then we're going to hit Marcus's article. But I got some chats here. George Johnson points out, not an article, but the SPLC has a map of hate groups on their website. Great job. Tim says, great job at the Pasadena City Council meeting. Can I steal your words if I do the same in my city? Tim, the best thing to do, and of course, yes, you can. You can use any of those words. But if you want, I've already done this for a couple people. If you email me, I will send you a transcript of what I actually said. If you want. I mean, you don't need it. I mean, you can watch the video however you want to do it. But people have emailed me and they said, would you be willing to send me a transcription of what you said? I did type out my statement before I gave it. So I'd be more than happy to send that to you. Drop me an email, ronplacone.com. Easiest way to get a hold of me. Just go there, email me, and I'd be happy to send you the transcription of what I said at that meeting. And if you want to add the howdy howdy at the end, feel free. You are totally welcome to. If you don't want to, that's fine too. If you do, though, I hope you record it on your phone and send it to me. So I guess the short answer, Tim, is yes, of course you can. And it's really awesome that you want to do that. Thank you. Trump is staging a military parade for D.C., Phil Britton says. Once that happens, if that happens, we are back in the USSR. I'm ashamed of this country, a dead zone. Well, does this surprise anyone that Trump did this, though? When has Trump been praised by our corporate media and our general populist? Populist, excuse me. Not populist. And the answer is whenever he's been a warmonger. When did they say it was at this moment he became presidential? When he dropped bombs on Syria. When did they applaud for him? Every 10 freaking seconds when he was able to read a sentence. When he was giving a war rally disguised as a State of the Union. So, I mean, and you know, the Super Bowl, he was praised, you know, for you know, casually mentioning, you know, all the nonsense he mentioned about, like, yeah, they kneel, blah, blah, blah. This guy has only ever gotten praise when he's been a warmonger. You don't think he's going to milk that? PR is the only thing he knows. That's his one trick. That's the only thing Trump knows. That's what he's good at. And he's good at it. I'll give the guy that. He's good at that. He sold people a successful lie. So, of course he's going to want to have a war parade. Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? That's when he wins people over. That's when his ratings get higher. Olivia, you didn't know what guy? Are you talking about Mr. Rogers? Yeah, he was on TV for a long, long time. Get your howdy on with Ron Sake. I like that. I like that hashtag. Tim Stack, I miss your old show, Nightstand. I'll have to check it out. Mr. Rogers was teaching pacifism during the Vietnam War by any means necessary. That's really awesome, Phil. I'm not familiar with any of that content, but that's really cool to know. Let's see here. Joe says apparently Senate leaders apparently Senate leaders just struck a bipartisan deal for a budget that increases defense spending. Of course they did. Tweet me an article on that, Joe, if you would, please. Let's hear about this bipartisan quote-unquote deal. All right. Billionaire Patrick Soon-Shiong reaches deal to buy LA Times and the San Diego Tribune. Interesting. Okay, this is my first time hearing about this. But apparently the LA Times and San Diego Tribune have been sold. Who have they been sold to? Biotech billionaire Patrick Soon-Shiong has agreed to purchase the LA Times from its parent company, Trunk, restoring local ownerships and perhaps ending a turbulent period for the storied 136-year-old institution. Chicago-based Trunk on Wednesday announced the sale of the Times and the San Diego Union Tribune to Soon-Shiong's investment firm Nant Capital for nearly $500 million in cash. In addition to the purchase price, the deal includes the assumption of $90 million in pension liabilities. We look forward to continuing the great tradition of award-winning journalism carried out by reporters and editors. Trunk also announced that it will form a new division called Tribune Interactive, which will be led by Los Angeles Times publisher Ross Livingston. The company said that an independent investigation into allegations of sexual harassment at previous companies found no wrongdoing. Who had been on unpaid leave by Levinson, who has been on unpaid leave since January 19th. Okay, I wasn't even familiar that had happened, actually. The sale, which is expected to close in April, comes after a particularly stormy period for the newspaper, which has seen 3 editors in 6 months as publisher placed on unpaid leave amid a sexual harassment investigation and a historic vote to unionize the newsroom. The deal came together quickly and took many observers by surprise. Soon-Shiong, one of Los Angeles' wealthiest residents and a minority owner of the Los Angeles Lakers, became the latest billionaire to throw a lifeline to a major newspaper. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post in 2016. So I know a lot more about Jeff Bezos than I do about this person. I don't know much about them. But what I can say about the Los Angeles Times is, as of recent, the Los Angeles Times, like so many newspapers, in our day and age, has become little more than just a coupon rag. You know, I mean, and the Los Angeles Times has had questionable ownership in recent years. And you kind of wonder why people with this amount of wealth buy newspapers. They're not, I would be shocked if they made their money back, if they made that investment back on this. That's not what the newspaper is worth. And this is similar to, you know, when the Telecommunications Act in '96 passed and ownership of radio stations became more lax, you would see these corporations paying money for radio stations that was more than what they were worth. They would then homogenize content and they would drive the radio station into the ground. A newspaper is a similar entity. It's meant to be a very localized medium. It's meant to be locally run and produced, and it's meant to be, a sustainable venture where everyone gets a little piece of the pie and committed to the community. Most newspapers are not that anymore. We live in a different time. So you just kind of have these billionaires throwing money at these newspapers. Usually their intentions are to better themselves. Usually their intentions are for favorable coverage. And not to actually make the investment in making the newspaper sustainable, because those days are pretty much gone. So it's very safe to assume there's another motive here other than news and information. And if you have any motive other than news and information, guess what? Your paper is tragically flawed. And this goes into why a for-profit media is inherently destructive and just by sheer definition, not healthy for any type of democratic experiment. So I guess we'll see what happens. So who is Patrick Sun-Chung? He's an LA billionaire with big ideas and mixed achievements. After more than a decade of out-of-town ownership, the LA Times will once more be locally owned. Patrick Chung, a doctor turned entrepreneur who was born in South Africa to Chinese parents, has reached a deal. So this guy's a doctor turned entrepreneur. He is estimated at $7.8 billion. His deep pockets could portend reinvestment at the Times. So here's his quote. We need newspapers. We need this intellectual integrity. We need writers and editors who are passionate about this work. So what all has this guy done? In 2009, he began to put into motion a plan to streamline the nation's healthcare system by uniting doctors, hospitals, and insurers through high-speed fiber optic networks, supercomputers, and what he called a wisdom database. That same year, he pledged $100 million to St. John's Hospital. He later made the financial guarantee to help underwrite the reopening of another community hospital. Well, that's good. Last July, he announced that his Culver City company would take control of operations of 6 California hospitals. So he basically invests in medicine mostly. He bought the Times parent company amid a hostile takeover. Owning the city's largest media company would add to a business portfolio that includes a network of medical research firms that he established to, in his own words, solve cancer. Okay, so it seems like this guy mostly dabbles in medicine. It doesn't seem like he has much of a history in defense or anything like that, which that is a good thing. He does shoot hoops weekly with other colleagues, and he's part owner of the Los Angeles Lakers. So I guess we'll see. I mean, I guess we'll see. It doesn't look like at least this guy doesn't have. It doesn't seem, at least according to this one profile, and I'm not familiar with this man, with exception to this one profile. But as of right now, there are no known collaborations with weapons contractors or anything like that, unlike Jeff Bezos. So I guess that's a good thing, or it is a good thing. And I guess we'll just see what else unfolds about this guy. But thank you for sharing that article, Marcus, and we will look forward to hearing more. This is from Pasta. The DNC is reportedly dead broke. I heard about this. This is my first time really digging into it. The DNC is reportedly dead broke, while the RNC has nearly $40 million. The DNC had a rough 2017, plagued by leadership troubles, internal squabbling, and unflattering reports. The DNC had a rough 2017 because they are doing everything they can to keep progressives out of the party and stifle progressive ideas while coming up with a platform that inspires nobody but pleases their donors. It's another way to look at that sentence. To top it off, the party ended the year dead broke, says The Intercept's Ryan Grimm. The Democratic Party is carrying more than $6 million in debt, according to year-end filings, had just over $6.5 million in the bank. But I thought Nancy Pelosi was the ultimate fundraiser. I thought we had to keep her around because she's just so good at raising money across the board. I thought they were a great fundraising machine. And we need to just suck it up and throw our principles to the wayside because we need a lot of money to fight fire with fire against the Republicans. So shut the fuck up and unite, you purists. I thought that was the message. No, they're broke anyway. What use do the Democrats have at this point? Joe asked the question, can the DNC do anything right? Great hypothetical. I'm leaning towards no. If anybody knows anything of what they do right, please let me know. Please let me know. At least they were a good, and I'm not saying at least, but like the one thing they would hang their hat on was like, hey, we're pretty financially, we got a lot of money to fight the Republicans. They don't even have that now. Jesse points out they're very good at patronizing people. All right, I'll give you that. They're very good at embarrassing themselves on television. They're good at that. Unbelievable. Tom Perez cannot lead a group of people out of a paper bag. He is less inspiring than drying paint. He cannot convince me of a restaurant to go to. And he's the leader? I mean, it's a parody of itself at this point. The Democrats are the Washington Generals of political parties, but at least when you're at a Harlem Globetrotters event, it's fun watching the Washington Generals lose. It's not fun watching the Democrats lose, because that means Republicans win. It's pretty rigged, huh? If there is any cause, this is according to the article, if there is any cause for Democratic optimism, it's that individual Democratic candidates seem to be doing well for themselves, even as the national party apparatus struggles. Nearly 50 non-incumbent Democrats running for Congress in the 2018 midterm outraced their Republican opponents in the last quarter of 2017. That's because of a couple things. One, actual progressives that are getting it done on the ground floor, and the DNC is taking credit for something they don't deserve to take credit for. And two, people are that wary of Trump. All right. Thank you for sharing that. To add a couple of comments to close off this story, maybe Trump doesn't realize things didn't go so well for Mussolini, especially post-mortem. George points that out. Pasta says, our values unite us. And Jeffrey points out, Pelosi has been a great success at enriching herself, but that's it. Very good point, Jeffrey. To force them to abandon DACA and cave. Yep, the Democrats are good at that, Sake points out. And Olivio says, apparently the U.S. Economy has improved since the beginning of 2017. Depends on how you look and where you look. Let's see here. Let's go over to the Reddit for a little bit. And guys, if you have not sent an article already, please refrain from doing so because, Marcus points out they have gaining the potential for momentum because we only got about 20 minutes left. We still got a lot to get through. So if you haven't sent anything already, please save it for tomorrow. For anyone, this is your first time, you are watching Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means you guys tweet me articles. And that's how we build the show. I don't see any of these articles in advance. I don't see any of these articles ahead of time. I don't plan any of these articles ahead of time. You guys tell me what we're going to talk about. So, for some of the people that tweeted me and said, hey, I'd wish you cover this, 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 and this, I let them know, hey, I got an easy solution for you. Tune in, tweet it at me. I'll tell my executive producer, oh, wait. You guys are my executive producer. Everybody watching this right now is my executive producer, which is really cool. Thank you guys so much for accepting the position. I'm honored. Any more thoughts towards 2-hour streams? All right, Dem Socialist, you asked for it, so now here comes the commercial. This is your fault, Dem Socialist. You made me do this. Look, guys, I really do want to expand to 2 hours. We took a poll. Most of you guys want to see this expanded to 2 hours. I want to do it. But I need more resources to do that. How can you help out? Become a patron. Patreon.com/Ron Placone. You can pay at whatever level you want. You still get all the same content. I post content every Wednesday and Sunday. There's going to be something coming out later today. In fact, I'll give you a spoiler. It's going to be my full stand-up set from the Portland show that we did over at the Jimmy Dore show in November. It'll be the full set. That set's not going to be available anywhere else. It's only available to the patrons. So that's the kind of stuff I send. You can pay at whatever level you're comfortable with. You can give as low as $1 a month. My first goal is I'm going to get T-shirts printed, and the first 50 patrons get T-shirts for free in the mail. I am grossly close to that goal. I am so freaking close. So if you can spare as little as $1 a month and you're interested in helping this show grow and in getting a ton of perks and benefits in the meantime. Another thing you get to do if you're a patron, if I'm coming to perform in your town, you get to go for free. If I'm performing in your town, my show, you get to go for free. And I got a bunch of tour dates in the works. I'm going to be here in Los Angeles, of course. I'm also going to be in Richmond, Virginia. I'm going to be in San Antonio, Texas. I'm going to be in Galena, Illinois. Probably going to be in Chicago, working on dates over out east as well. I'm going to be in Arizona. I'm going to be at the Tempe Improv with Graham Elwood on May 9th. Got a lot of dates, ronplacone.com for all those. And yeah, if you are so able, please do consider becoming a patron. All right. And Super Chat helps as well. Pasta, the chat moderator, point out. And Frederick points out, the DNC's main job and goal is not allow any true progressive with any position that has any power whatsoever. As long as the donor money keeps filling their personal coffers, they are happy. Absolutely. They do not care about winning. All right. We got a few. Oh, this is interesting. So, let's see. This is from Just Want World Peace. Thomas Frank used Fall River, Massachusetts as an example of the town where politicians go as a poor town backdrop in his book, Listen Liberal. Nothing gets better with each administration. This is the town Kennedy gave his speech in. That's kind of interesting. How Dems created liberalism of the rich. All right, I don't have time to read this entire thing. This is kind of long. But this is from Thomas Frank's book, Listen Liberal, a book I highly recommend. It kind of talks about what's wrong with the Democratic Party and why we really need a progressive revolution, in short. Although Thomas Frank himself is very loyal to the Democratic Party, he's still kind of staying true to the case that we can really reform them from within. I hope he's right. I hope he's right. I kind of am thinking we need a new party completely. But I support trying all of it. Thomas Frank used Fall River, Massachusetts as an example of the town politicians go to as a poor town backdrop. And of course, ironically enough, or not ironically at all, that is where Kennedy gave his empty speech in, where he had no talk of policy whatsoever. I mean, that response was so pathetic. That was even more pathetic than the one a year prior where that old guy responded to it. You know, that old guy in Kentucky? I don't even remember the guy's name. It's not relevant because neither is he. Where he was like, I'm a Republican, but I'm also a Democrat. We're all Americans. They're all sitting at a cafe for this dumb photo op. Unbelievable. All right, we got a couple more things over here on the let's see. This is also from Just Want World Peace. Transparency activists sue Chicago over refusal to release the Amazon bid. Today, the transparency organization Lucy Parson Labs filed a lawsuit against Mayor Rahm Emanuel in the city of Chicago over their refusal to publicly release offers made to entice Amazon to build their second corporate headquarters in the Windy City. Good. Here's the thing. Whoever gets Amazon, it's not going to help them. They are going to pay out the ass to get Amazon, and they're not going to make their money back on that investment. I'm sorry. I mean, the few jobs, yeah, they're bringing a lot of jobs, yes, but in comparison to an entire city, it's not a lot. And yeah, those people spend money in the city, but compared to the cost that whichever city is going to have to pay the bribe to Amazon, they're not going to make it back. They're just not. So I'm glad that somebody is saying to Chicago, you need to make public what you're offering this predatory company. So good for Lucy Parsons Lab. And I wish other cities would follow their example, but it's probably not going to happen because everybody's too busy salivating at the idea of Amazon coming to their city. I mean, like I said, I'm from Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's one of the top cities. When I was home for the holidays with my family, I mean, everybody was salivating at the idea. And I was the only one where I was just like, it's not going to be. And they're like, oh, no, you're crazy. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not. Remember September when I was the only one that said, I don't think Hillary's going to win? Remember September 2016 when I was saying, guys, I think Hillary's going to lose? And you guys treated me like I was crazy? All right, just testing. I'm always at a table for one at my family functions. I have a feeling that's the same for a lot of you as well. And that's why we're all gathered here together. We have all that in common. I could rename the name of this show to the show for if you're at a table for one at every family function. If you can't even relate to the Republican side of your family and you find yourself to the left of your Democratic side of the family to the point where the Democratic side even annoys you more, this is the show for you. Because that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. I find people talking about how great Kennedy's speech was even more annoying than right-wingers. They are even worse in many ways. The DNC is designed to not allow any outside force disrupt their hold on power within the party. Frederick, you're absolutely right. Matthew Iverson, I'm going to be giving as soon as I get through my next rounds of surgeries. And thanks for fighting for us medical fucked up people. Matthew, good luck. I hope you're okay. I know you had that crazy accident. And yeah, I know you're going through a lot. And I'm trying to do a project with all that, by the way. I've been talking to Caitlin Johnson about it. Thank you for the emoji, you guys. New patron here, A. Mars. Thank you so much, A. Thank you very, very much. And I got another emoji, a fist bump emoji. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. All right, back to the Twitter because we only got a few minutes left. Let's see here. Show us your tattoo. All right, I can do that. It's right here. That's my tattoo. Can everyone see it? Can the YouTube people see it as well? It says one more time. I got it many, many years ago when I was living in a youth hostel. And I was living in a youth hostel. I was interning at a record label in Nashville, Tennessee. My internship was over and it was time for me to go back to college. So I got really drunk. I wanted something to commemorate the whole event. So I went and I got a tattoo. And that's my tattoo. That's my tattoo. Let's see where we're at here. Was I drunk when I got it? I was not drunk when I got it. No, I kind of sobered up before I got it. Have I ever seen Game of Thrones? Obi-Wan wants to know. Yes, I'm actually a Game of Thrones fan. And I have a theory. Me and my roommate have been working on a theory that we're going to do something with later as to how contemporary American politics can be explained via Game of Thrones. We're going to do that at a later time. In fact, that's going to be over on the Patreon. Patreon.com/Ron Placone. Are you going to see Black Panther? I'm not familiar. So that's a movie, I'd imagine. I am so bad with movies, it is relatively embarrassing. Yeah, okay, so that's a movie. That's totally a movie. Yeah, dude, it got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I guess I'm gonna try to see it. Yeah, it's doing good. We'll see. I'm so bad with movies. I will reference movies that I will forget the name of, and then people like put the name in the comments, which I very appreciate, by the way. But it's embarrassing how bad with movies I am, especially because I am in show business, and it's so embarrassing how bad with movies I am. Like it's like I probably shouldn't admit it on a public forum how bad with movies I am. I just did. It's too late. But I'm embarrassingly bad with movies. I did see Star Wars. Yeah, I did see Star Wars. And I actually enjoyed it. I know some people didn't, but I dug it. All right, we got to move on. This is from Joe. And this will probably be our last story today. We might get to one more, but this will probably be it for today. Let's give Joe a retweet. This is an important thing to talk about because it's very breaking. Senate leaders agree to a 2-year budget deal. All right, let's see here. Whew. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has announced a deal with Senate Democrats to fund the government and set spending levels for defense and non-defense programs over the next 2 years. I love how we can just, let's read that sentence again and really think about it. Derek points out Ron is no Roger Ebert. That's an understatement, Derek. It's like I am not who's Roger Ebert? Like, I'm kidding. I know who Roger Ebert is. But that is, I am so, it's like there's only so many things one can kind of geek out about. And for me, it's like certain genres of literature, certain eras of literature, music, and politics. And I'm capped out. Like, I don't have room for anything else. Like I can't, so I just can't squeeze movies in there. I can't, I can't, there's not enough of and I'm into hurling, there's only so much room for geeky hobbies. And I'm just tapped out right now. I've hit my quota. And I've had the same quota for years now. I don't know if I'm going to switch. So, I mean, just the chances for me becoming a movie connoisseur, just not in the cards, I just, and it makes it easier for me. Like, I enjoy movies easier because I'm not dissecting them the way a lot of other people do. The co-host wants to come back. All right. She's back. Hi, Luce. The Nerd Quota. Exactly, Jesse. The Nerd Quota, which is going to be the name of my album. But I'm at mine. And academia. I still am an academic nerd, too. I get excited when Jesse sends a JSTOR article because I am still a big geek. Even though I made the decision to leave academia because I had a dream, I still kind of geek out about it. I was published a while ago. One of my articles is published in an academic journal, and it's in a textbook now. And the only reason I know this is because my colleague that I co-authored the piece with sent it to me. But I'm in some communications textbook, and they actually have me in a reading question. Like, they use my article in the textbook, and then at the end they have reading questions for the students. And one of the questions is about me specifically. And I read the question, and I had no fucking clue what the answer was. They were like, what is Placone? What rhetorical element or tool is Placone trying to infer with this blah, blah, blah? And I read it, and I'm like, I have no clue what the fuck I was trying to do there. I don't fucking remember. Now, this was years after I wrote the thing. But I was like, look, any student that has this textbook, they can write, well, Placone doesn't give a shit. And technically, you'd have to give them credit. You would have to give them credit if they wrote that. Because the question says specifically, what was I trying to do? And if I don't give a shit, you should be allowed to write that. They're like, well, Placone doesn't give a shit. And then they can cite this stream in their answer. This is going to help me build a bigger college audience. They can be like, he doesn't give a shit. Like, that's not really what we're looking for. But I mean, you have to give me an A. He said he doesn't give a shit. Placone doesn't know, and neither do I. Also an acceptable answer. You can have your deconstructionist moment. It doesn't fucking matter. Placone doesn't care. Placone told me he doesn't care. God, if one student does that, I'll feel like I've really won. If they're like, dude, I did it. I was like, Placone doesn't give a shit. And I cited this video, and my teacher got a kick out of it and said, that's awesome. And we'd like to book you for a comedy show. Anyway, so let's talk about this budget, guys. This is our last story for today. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has announced a deal with Senate Democrats to fund the government and set spending levels for defense and non-defense programs over the next 2 years. The legislation would avert a government shutdown on Friday when federal funding is due to expire. It does not include a hike to the debt ceiling, though that could be added soon. Senator Tom Tillis, who received a briefing from McConnell on the deal, said there's discussion about adding debt ceiling language. Okay. Including the debt ceiling hike. Okay. This deal is backed by McConnell and Senate Minority Leader Charles Schumer and will almost certainly be cleared. It is not entirely sure the package will win enough support to pass the House, however. It does not include language. Here we go. It does not include language sheltering thousands of immigrants brought to the United States illegally as children who could face deportation next month. What is that mealy mouth code for? The Democrats flaked again on DACA. They caved just like we knew they would. They caved on DACA. The headline should be, the funding bill does not include DACA. The Democrats are useless. We have two parties, a party with no ideas whatsoever and a party with terrible ideas. And the party with no ideas doesn't stand up to the party with terrible ideas. Tell me again how we don't need a revolution. Tell me again how I need to shut the fuck up and unite with no ideas and no backbone. Tell me again how I need to unite with that. Tell me again how I need to join the squad that makes the Bad News Bears look like Olympians. Tell me again how we're all supposed to shut the fuck up and do that. Unbelievable. Oh, and I have to plug something at the end. Pasta just reminded me. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi says she will oppose the deal without a commitment. Get this. Here's your resistance. Ready for your resistance moment, everybody? Here it is. This should reinstate your confidence. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, who doesn't understand how to deliver a platform, isn't actually good at raising money after all, and can barely put a sentence together. Here's what she says. This should inspire your confidence. She will oppose a deal without a commitment from Speaker Paul Ryan to consider legislation. To consider legislation. Oh, just promise me you'll consider it. I'll accept that. The Democrats would be the worst debt collectors in the history of humanity. Hey, you promised us you'd do this thing. Oh, well, we're not going to do it. Oh, well, that you should do it. Well, we're not. Okay. Can we talk about it later? Of course we can talk about it later. Hey, it's later. Can we talk about it? No. Okay. Can you commit that you'll consider talking about it? Maybe. That's honestly what the Democrats have done. They are at this point, will you promise to consider talking about it? This is comical. This is how pathetic. And how can you justify voting for this? Like, what are you doing? The game's rigged. Holy shit. Joe points out, it's a really abusive relationship at this point. And he's fucking right. That is what it is. Holy shit. Oh, and I've been in an abusive relationship before, so I know what it's like in the literal sense. And yes, this is what it is. And everybody knows it's rigged, and that's why Trump is president. You're absolutely right, Dem Socialists. Pelosi was in the midst of a floor speech running more than 3 hours in the House when McConnell announced the deal. Unbelievable. I want a commitment that he'll consider legislation. Now they just want you to consider it. Unbelievable. Oh, and don't you love how we spend so much money on defense in this country that we just lump everything else as its own subsection? Like, let me read this sentence from the article again. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has announced a deal with Senate Democrats to fund the government and set spending levels for defense and non-defense programs over the next 2 years. That is a reflection of how much we spend on defense. That defense is its own category and everything else is just the second category. Because that's how much it's dwarfed in comparison to defense. You understand what I'm saying there? Do you realize how fucked up and backwards that is? Do you realize how militarily exploitative that is and gross that is? Unbelievable. Jesse points out this is their favorite tactic, gaslighting. Their favorite tactic is gaslighting, which is technically emotional abuse. Joe said, I saw that and saw the same thing. Defense is also an outright lie we spend on offense. That's very true, Sake. Dem Socialists, with this year's budget, we spend more than the next 11 combined. George says, revolution all. Clifton Hicks says, Pelosi is more of a neater than a leader. Very true. Pasta says, we need to get Stephen Jaffe on the show. Yeah, agreed. We should. You're the booker, Pasta. Make it happen. Jeffrey Pearson says, Pelosi wants a potential for commitment. Love it. The deal is backed by McConnell. Okay, so It provides a $131 billion increase for non-defense programs, $57 billion in funding over the next 2 years, above the cap established. It's higher than Trump wanted in his 2018 budget for non-defense spending. It would also provide 80 to 90 for disaster relief by hurricanes and wildfire. It includes a 2-year authorization for community health centers. Other fundings goes towards veteran hospitals. So CHIP's in there, but DACA isn't, basically. That's basically nuts and bolts what's going on, which is something that we already knew. So this is bullshit. It's saying, oh, this is a big win for Democrats. No, it's not. They weren't going to go after CHIP. CHIP was too popular. They weren't going to go after that. They were going to go after DACA, and they succeeded. This is a big win for Republicans. Yeah, Lucy is meowing her disapproval. This is not a big win for Democrats. This is a huge loss for Democrats. Huge defense budget. They're not even standing up to the defense budget, to the point where it increases defense spending by about $80 billion over the next 2 years, something Mitch McConnell hailed as an achievement. More than Trump even wanted. Mitch McConnell's happy about it. George Johnson points out the cat wants a revolution too. Can you recap where DACA is? It's dead. Nancy Pelosi just wants Paul Ryan to promise he'll talk about it later. That's where DACA's at. DACA's out. And as Phil reminds us, those damn Dems voted for an additional $80 billion to the $700 billion Pentagon budget. The Dems are criminal whores for war. Absolutely they are. Marcus adds, but the Russians. Theme song. Theme song of the neoliberal. But the Russians. But the Russians. But the Russians. This is your resistance, guys. Agree. Promise me that you'll consider talking about it at some point. That's how the Democrats negotiate. What a joke. This is why that party's dead in the water, and we desperately need a revolution, and that's what I'll leave you with. We are totally out of time. Thank you guys so much for being here. This has been Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means you guys tweet me articles, and that's how we build the show. All of these articles that we went through were tweeted by you guys and sent to the Reddit by you guys. So tweet me an article at Ron Placone or post it on our Reddit, which is just reddit.com/r/getyournewsonwithron. Fun show today, you guys. If you want to support this show, again, I won't do the full commercial again, but if you want to support this show, do so over at patreon.com/Ron Placone. It's a pay what you can model. You can give as low as $1 a month, and you get all the same perks, which includes a podcast once a week, another posting every Wednesday. I'm going to be posting something later today. I also, and you get free tickets to any of my shows when I'm in your community, and other cool perks. So if you are so able, patreon.com/Ron Placone. A guest, a Team Plaque One mug, they're coming. My first goal is t-shirts, but Plaque One mugs are coming as well, Sake. Worry not. Merch is coming. I will keep you guys posted when that happens, but Sake, Team Plaque One mugs are coming. And Howdy Howdy t-shirts are coming as well. And I'm very close to that goal, you guys. So if you are so able, patreon.com/Ron Placone. Guest announcement before we sign out here. Anthony Rendon's opponent, Maria Estrada, will join the show on Wednesday, next Wednesday. That'll be Valentine's Day. We'll be talking to Maria about her campaign. Look into Maria Estrada now and get your questions ready for her. You guys had some excellent questions for David Hildebrand. We didn't get to all of them. For everyone we didn't get to, I am very, very sorry. I did the absolute best I could. But we're not quite able to expand quite yet, but we will soon. This show will be 2 hours. And you guys can help me get there. But thank you guys so much for being part of this. Maria Estrada coming up next week on Valentine's Day. That's the 14th. And I got some tour dates in the works, both with myself, with Graham Elwood, and with the Jimmy Dore Show, all the above. So go to ronplacone.com for all those updates. Can we get a peek at the t-shirt designs? Yes, STEM Socialist, absolutely. I will be posting that as soon as it's available. Thank you guys so much for being part of this. This has been Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. I will send you out with the theme. Get your news on with Ron. Wanna know what's going on? Get your news on.
Follow at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news on with Ron. Wanna know what's going on? Get your news on today. Yeah, 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 yeah. This has been Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. Thank you guys so much. We do this every Tuesday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Follow me on Twitter at Ron Placone, ronplacone.com for all the tour dates, patreon.com/Ron Placone if you are so able. I love you all very much. Stay safe in this crazy world of ours. I will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Peace.